Welcome to Espresso Science News, daily science news broadcasts focusing on major development in the biotech and pharmaceutical industry. Grab a cup of coffee and we'll give you the news. Today, GenSight Biologics receives approval from the UK Medicines and Healthcare Regulatory Agency to initiate Phase 1 and 2 clinical trials of gene therapy for retinitis pigmentosa. This clinical trial is a first-in-man application of optogenetics combined with a stimulation device. The treatment consists of two components. First, a gene therapy product comprising of a gene encoding a photoactivatable channel rhodopsin protein delivered via a modified adeno-associated virus. Second is a biomimetic goggles that stimulate the engineered retinal cells. Retinitis Pigmentosa is a family of orphan genetic diseases caused by multiple mutations in numerous genes involved in the visual cycle. Over 100 genetic defects have been implicated. Retinitis pigmentosa patients generally begin experiencing vision loss in their young adult years, with progression to blindness by age 40. Retinitis pigmentosa is the most widespread hereditary cause of blindness in developed nations, with a prevalence of about 1.5 million people around the world. In Europe and the United States, about 35,000 to 400,000 patients suffer from retinitis pigmentosa. And every year, between 15,000 and 20,000 new patients with retinitis pigmentosa lose sight. There is currently no existing curative treatment for retinitis pigmentosa. Vertex Pharmaceuticals today announced that the European Commission has granted extension of the marketing authorization for ORKAMBI, the first medicine to treat the underlying cause of cystic fibrosis in people with two copies of the F508 deletion mutation, to include children ages 6 through 11. In Europe, there are approximately 3,400 children ages 6 to 11 with two copies of this mutation. Cystic fibrosis is a rare, life-shortening genetic disease affecting approximately 75,000 people across North America, Europe, and Australia. Cystic fibrosis is caused by a defective or missing CFTR protein, resulting from mutations in the CFTR gene. Children must inherit two defective CFTR genes, one from each parent, to have cystic fibrosis. There are approximately 2,000 known mutations in the CFTR gene. Some of these mutations, which can be determined by a genetic test, lead to cystic fibrosis by creating a non-working or too few CFTR protein at the cell surface. The defective function or absence of CFTR protein results in poor flow of salt and water into and out of the cell in a number of organs. In the lungs, this leads to a buildup of abnormally thick, sticky mucus that can cause chronic lung infections and progressive lung damage in many patients that eventually leads to death. The median age of death is in the mid to late 20s. ORKAMBI is a combination of two drugs, lumacaftor and ivacaftor. Lumacaftor improves the conformational stability of the F508 deletion CFTR, resulting in increased processing and trafficking of the mature protein to the cell surface. Ivacaftor is a CFTR potentiator that facilitates increased chloride transport by potentiating the channel open probability of the CFTR protein at the cell surface. In vitro studies have demonstrated that both lumacaftor and ivacaftor act directly on the CFTR protein in primary human bronchial epithelial cultures and other cell lines, harboring the F508 deletion CFTR mutation to increase the quantity, stability, and function of the F508 deletion CFTR at the cell surface, resulting in increased chloride ion transport. In vitro responses don't necessarily correspond to in vivo pharmacodynamic response or clinical benefit. Libella Gene Therapeutics will conduct an outside the United States clinical trial in Cartagena, Colombia, using gene therapy to reverse age-related diseases, starting with Alzheimer's. Unlike traditional drugs, which tend to be taken for months or years at a time, gene therapy interventions are intended to be one-off treatments that tackle a disease at its source, repairing faulty DNA and allowing the body to fix itself. Every day, 228 Americans die from Alzheimer's disease, and there is currently no known treatment or cure. Gene therapy offers the ability to permanently correct the disease at its most basic level, the genome, and could offer cures for many conditions that are currently considered incurable. According to Dr. Bill Andrews, the scientist leading the study, human telomerase reverse transcriptase is an enzyme that expression plays a role in cellular aging and is normally repressed in cells, resulting in progressive shortening of telomeres. Telomerase gene therapy in adult and old mice delays aging and increases longevity without increasing cancer. By inducing telomerase, Dr. Andrews and Libella Gene Therapeutics hope to lengthen telomeres in the body cells. The clinical trial will treat a limited number of patients using the gene therapy treatment, which has been demonstrated as safe, with minimal adverse reactions in over 186 clinical trials. With a mission to reverse aging and cure all age-related diseases, starting with Alzheimer's, Libella Gene Therapeutics has exclusively licensed the AAV reverse transcriptase enzyme technology from Sierra Sciences and Dr. Bill Andrews. Thank you for watching Espresso Science News. Subscribe today to stay updated with science news. Science